Welcome back, class. This is Mr. Z with another video. So this time we are going to take a look at polar multiplication and division. Remember, if you have two complex numbers in polar form with your magnitude and direction angles, when you multiply the radius and you add the angles. When you divide your R1 with the R2 and you subtract the angles. Again, when you multiply the radiuses, you add the angles. When you divide your radiuses and you subtract the angles from one another. So let's illustrate this with a quick example. I have complex number 1, which is 6 cosine of 90 degrees plus I sine of 90 degrees. Likewise, I have complex number 2, which is 3 cosine of 60 degrees plus I sine of 60 degrees. First up, let's do C1 times C2. Remember, the key word here is we multiply the radiuses, so we do 6 times 3. Then for the angles, we add them up, so we do 90 plus 60 plus I sine of 90 degree plus 60 degrees, which gives us 6 times 3, that's 18 cosine of 150 degrees plus I sine of 150 degrees. Easy stuff. Remember, the key takeaway from this: you add the angles and you multiply the radii. Moving on to part B now, where we divide the complex number C1 over C2. What we do here, take the first radii over the second. We are basically following the pattern from here. 6 over 3. Then we do cosine of 90 minus 60 plus I sine of 90 degree minus 60 degrees, which gives us 6 over 3, that's a 2, cosine of 30 degrees plus I sine of 30 degrees. And the takeaway was you subtracted the angles and then you divide the radii. So with these two calculations on the back of our heads, we are now going to take a look at DeMoivre's theorem. Remember, DeMoivre's theorem comes in handy whenever we have to calculate the powers of a complex number. So what I mean by that is, if you have a complex number which is, say, C equals R cosine of theta plus I sine of theta, C raised to the power n would be R raised to the power n cosine of n times theta plus I sine of n times theta. And also note that for DeMoivre's theorem to work, your number has to be in polar form like this. It cannot work for a rectangular form. So if the number is in the form a plus bi, first you have to convert it into polar form, and then only your DeMoivre's theorem would work. Otherwise, the theorem will not work. Now, let's illustrate this with the same example from here. Let's take C1, which was 6 cosine of 90 plus I sine of 90. The calculation we want to do is C1 power, give me a number, power 5. Okay, let's work on this. equals what? So what we do next is apply the DeMoivre theorem. First, let's identify our r. R in this case is 6. Theta in this case is 90 degree. So we take r power n first. So we do, and also our n here is 5. So first we do r power n, which gives us 6 power 5. I do not know what 6 power 5 is, so I'm going to use my calculator. 6 power 5, which gives me 7,776. Okay, and the second step we do is we multiply the angles. So we're going to do n times theta. So in this case, we will have 5 times 90 degrees. Again, go onto your calculator. 5 times 90, that should give you 450. And you have 450 degrees. So your final answer then would be 7,776 cosine of 450 degrees plus I sine of 450 degrees. And this here is the final answer. So to give us a quick review of what we did here in this video so far. We performed a polar multiplication and a division. Remember, the key takeaway is when you multiply, you add the angles and you multiply the radii. Likewise, when you divide the complex numbers, you subtract the angles and you divide the radii. Then we also took a look at DeMoivre's theorem. So what we did, we took a complex number in polar form. Remember, it does not work rectangular form. The number has to be in polar form. Then we took the radius to the power of n and we multiplied the angle with the n. In this case here, our radius was a 6, the theta was a 90 degree, n was a 5 because the question wanted us to take it to a power of 5. So first up we did r power n, 6 power 5, giving us 7,776. Then we did n times theta, which was 5 times 90 degree, giving us 450 degrees. Finally, we combined the answers and got the final answer as 7,776 cosine of 450 plus I sine of 450 degrees. And that here is polar multiplication and division, also followed by DeMoivre's theorem. Good luck working on your assignment for today. And if you have any questions, please shoot me a GChat or an email. Thank you and good luck.